In the beginning, there was only Anu, the first being. Anu was a complete being, encompassing order and chaos, goodness and evil, light and dark. And in Anu's all-encompassing knowledge, the first being made a choice. Anu decided to strip himself of his darker half and leave only goodness within him. That darker half did not vanish. It manifested as Tothomet, the prime evil. And with Tothomet's birth began the eternal wrestle between good and evil. The two waged war tirelessly against one another until their struggle ended in the demise of both parties. And from their remains, the universe came into existence. Tothomet manifested as a seven-headed dragon. Its body became the burning hells we know today, and each of its heads became one of the seven great evils, each lording over a part of their realm. From Anu's body, on the other hand, came the high heavens. It is said that the crystal arch was formed from Anu's very spine. Angels are created from this arch whenever it vibrates in perfect harmony. Each angel a manifestation of an aspect that once belonged to Anu. An aspect that informed their emerging personality accordingly. Those angels who embody these aspects with the highest purity rise to become archangels. The seven great evils are composed of 3 prime evils and 4 lesser evils. Of the 7, the prime evils are considered the strongest of all demons, each in charge of a realm that essentially feeds off the others in order to solidify their powers and cement their authority for near eternity. Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, is considered the eldest of the 3 prime evils, said to create schemes upon schemes with terrifying cunning. He is followed by Baal, the Lord of Destruction. The youngest prime evil, and namesake of the franchise, is Diablo, the Lord of Terror. With dominion over fear, Diablo is arguably the strongest of the 3, as fear exists everywhere in perpetuity. In no particular order, the remaining great evils are the twins, Ondariel and Duriel, the Maiden of Anguish and the Lord of Pain, respectively, along with Azmodan, the Lord of Sin, and Belial, the Lord of Lies. The twins serve as counterparts. Duriel revels in others' physical pain, while Ondariel derives pleasure from others' mental and emotional anguish. Azmodan indulges in vice and influences others to partake in all vices, acting as a master tempter. And Belial stands at the forefront of lies and deception. Sleep well and enjoy the tale of Diablo. But first, if you enjoy this content and want to support the channel further, you can check out my Patreon page or click the join button on YouTube to become a channel member for only 99 cents and get access to completely ad-free sleep content. You can also check out my store for some pretty nifty sleep merch, including pillows and blankets. Follow me on Facebook, and be sure to also catch the Lore to Sleep 2 podcasts on Spotify and other major podcast networks. The links for these can be found in the description below. I appreciate all your support, a whole bunch. Now, back to your regularly scheduled sleep content. Naturally, all demons are experts in manipulation, and while they are called the lesser of the great evils, each of them can be considered a calamity on their own, commanding countless demons and other unholy beings to do their bidding. Warring against these lords and the denizens of the burning hells are the 5 archangels of Anu's aspects, who form the Anguirus Council. Imperious, Archangel of Valor, stands at the helm of the 5. He is known for bravery and strength, and is usually seen leading the charge against the dark forces. Tyrael, Archangel of Justice, is known for superior prowess in battle, and is considered to have trained most, if not all, of the soldiers under the heavenly host. Uriel, Archangel of Hope, is the incorrigible light that sees the good in all things. Malthael, the Archangel of Wisdom, is the voice of logic and understanding. And Itheriel, the Archangel of Fate, while just as strong as the others, is preoccupied with the knowledge and comprehensions of the machinations of fate and time. Worth mentioning as well is Inarius, another archangel but with no known aspect that he embodies. While powerful and commanding on the battlefield in his own right, he is predominantly said to have served as an advisor to Tyrael and to the council as a whole. Heaven and hell continuously fight over all creation, specifically for the World Stone, considered by some to be the Eye of Anu, an enormous, all-powerful artifact capable of impossible feats of creation and destruction. Time and time again, it would fall into either faction's hands. The archangels would use it to form worlds in perfect alignment with their visions and expressions of order. In the hands of demons, it would be used to create whole worlds serving as engines for destruction and annihilation. Regardless of who controlled it and what they created with it, the war would destroy each and every world before long, in a never-ending cycle. The World Stone is located in the plane of Pandemonium, a third plane of creation said to have formed from the epic mutual destruction between Anu and Tophemet, perpetually deforming the cosmos itself. This is where the war would be perpetually waged, and this war would be known as the Eternal Conflict. One angel, Inarius, dared to think there must be more to life than this perpetual cycle. He grew tired of the violence and the fighting. He shared this apprehensively with Tyrael, the angel in the council he was closest to, but concluded that Tyrael did not share the idea or even understand it. The war waged on, and in another usual engagement, Inarius was struck down in the third wave of the demon's attacks. Thinking he was as good as dead, he was instead held captive by a strong demon. Fearing the worst, and frustrated that he might die without ever seeing the end of the war, Inarius rambled about his thoughts, about a future where the eternal conflict is no more, and about his exhaustion with the cycle of revenge and violence. Surprisingly, his captor freed him. More surprisingly, she understood and agreed with him. Her name was Lilith, the daughter of Mephisto, the daughter of hatred. Lilith was also tired of the war Their only difference, one Inarius remained ignorant to, was that the only method Lilith saw of finally being free from the eternal conflict was to finally win it. The two conspired. They sought out the few like-minded angels and demons who also wanted a way out, and formed a small group of rebels. They snuck into the World Stone's location and used its power to create a pocket dimension where they could all flee together, taking the World Stone with them. There, they used the artifact again to create a whole new world where they could reside, free from the eternal conflict, and from the eyes of the burning hells and high heavens alike. They called it Sanctuary. With peace in Sanctuary and love in Lilith, Inarius's dream was finally fulfilled. Lilith's, however, was just beginning. The two decided to create offspring, and they were called Nephilim, the first iterations and ancestors of humankind. Their firstborn was named Linarian, after both of their names, and would later be called Rathma. The other renegade angels and demons followed suit, and Sanctuary became populated. Born of both demonic and divine blasphemous design, the Nephilim had the potential to be the strongest beings in the cosmos, stronger than anything in the high heavens or burning hells. To Lilith, discontent with simply fleeing from the war, the Nephilim were the future, the key to ending the eternal conflict once and for all. Eventually, fearing their own children's great potential, the rebel demons and angels alike began to propose ceasing the creation of any more Nephilim and culling those already made out of fear of what their offspring might one day become. Disturbed by the notion, yet acknowledging their fear, Inarius called for a period of contemplation so he could thoroughly consider their position. Lilith caught wind of it and went mad at the thought of her children being slaughtered, her eventual weapons being purged. She assumed a new, treacherous form and began culling the rebels instead, dispatching them one by one until no voice of dissent existed. When Inarius returned, all he came home to was slaughter. Yet, no matter what wrath and frustration he carried within him, he could not bring himself to kill Lilith. Instead, enhancing his power with the World Stone, he banished her into a void of his own making. Still reeling from the carnage, Inarius gave in to fear, and for good measure, he attuned the World Stone to diminish the power of the Nephilim from generation to generation, diluting them until they eventually became humankind as we know it. The firstborn kept their immortality and powers, which would inadvertently create entire religions and different groups of mortals. But Inarius declared the use of their powers forbidden. Some protested, but Inarius quieted dissent in service of his would-be vision of utopia. As things finally settled, Inarius promptly disappeared. At some unknown time during the events of Lilith's purging of the rebel angels and demons, Trag Owl made his presence known to Linarian. Trag Owl was a being outside even angels and demons, serving as the guardian of Sanctuary, presumably coming into existence when Sanctuary was created as well. The great dragon exists in his own realm, and and there he brought Lunarian to reside as his student. Trag'Owl taught Lunarian about balance between light and dark, and how all of creation abides by its laws, lest it fall to destruction of its own doing. Proving an able student, Trag'Owl changed Lunarian's name to Rathma, and Rathma became the first necromancer as he mastered his studies. Across the centuries that followed, the two worked together, keeping the balance of sanctuary behind the scenes, protecting it from the prying eyes of both the high heavens and the burning hells. For a long time, Inarius left humankind to its own devices. He did not guide them, he did not rule them, he did not interfere. And so, in Sanctuary, free from the eternal conflict, yet still imperfect, civilizations rose, governments formed, kingdoms were founded, as groups of people segregated themselves across the world, building borders and banners, as though any land could ever truly be owned. Without heaven and hell openly trampling their world, humanity still found ways to bleed. Conflict grew between peoples. Struggle flared against the natural horrors of Sanctuary itself. Slowly, painfully, humankind learned to fight and survive on their own. And in time, they opened the door to magic. That door creaked widest in the region of Kej'an, where practitioners began to band together, not as a single order, but as many, each clustering around the kinds of magic they felt affinity with. Among them, the Vizjere stood apart. Their curiosity leaned toward the arcane, toward the hidden edges of reality. They believed spiritual beings existed among them, within and beyond Sanctuary, and that the only barrier was knowledge. They did not seek merely power. They wanted contact with this other side. Eventually, a Vizjere mage named Jer Haraj pursued summoning magic with increasing obsession, and after time, he succeeded calling forth his first spirit. But what answered him was not what he believed he had summoned. It was a demon, subconsciously called upon by him, drawn in by the negative disposition that colored his attempt. And as it always does when a demon is brought into the world, carnage followed. When the dust finally settled, the demon was sent back, but it carried with it something far more dangerous than bloodshed. It carried knowledge. It carried the knowledge of Sanctuary, and in doing so, finally revealed the existence of this world, supposedly safe from the eternal conflict, to the denizens of the burning hells. The Vizjere continued perfecting their demonology, and as their craft sharpened, so too did the influence of the prime evils, who began shaping parts of humankind into footholds within Sanctuary. The demons had discovered humans, and they immediately realized what humans represented. A chance to tip the balance of the eternal conflict forever in their favor. So they built a weapon out of belief. They established the Temple of the Triune, wrapped in the outward guise of benevolence and culture. A religion, they called it. A path, a tradition, and a spiritual shelter. They began to draw in humanity, one convert at a time. Most never realizing they were not joining a faith at all, but walking willingly into a cult designed to serve the primeval's bidding. On the surface, the Triune preached peace, selfless worship, and devotion. They encouraged pilgrimage and the individual's religious journey. They built their doctrine on 3 pillars: determination, creation, love. And they claimed to worship 3 spirits who championed these aspects. Bala, the spirit of creation, was revered for nature's gifts and humankind's synthetic achievements. Dialon, the spirit of determination, was praised for the gift of will, working toward each person's fate and purpose in life. Mephis, the spirit of love, was worshipped as the lifeblood of all things, because nothing can exist without love. The sect was divided among these 3 pillars, but beneath the surface, its architecture was built by demons. These machinations established by the primevals themselves, Baal, Diablo, and Mephisto, to convert as many humans as possible into tools. Devotees were tortured to reach higher ranks. Extreme measures were taken against those who got too close, saw too much, and refused to join. And the higher a person climbed, the more concentrated and knowledgeable they became in the dark truths beneath the lies, until rank became closeness, and closeness became proximity to the demons backing the sect. Despite preaching peace, the Triune turned a blind eye to those suffering and dying. At the very top sat their Primus, the leader placed above all others. Lucian, son of Mephisto and brother to Lilith, wearing a human disguise. It could be said that the primevals refused to wage their war directly because they feared what Inarius had become, an archangel attuned to the World Stone, wielding a strength that made even hell cautious. Years passed, years that meant little to an angel, until Inarius finally caught on to the primeval's deceptions. And because he did not wish to draw the gaze of the high heavens, he did not answer the Triune with an angelic army. He answered it with a faith. He founded the Cathedral of Light, and with it began a cold war fought in the shadows for the very soul of humanity. The cathedral preached salvation and benevolence to the whole of humankind, in contrast to the Triune's focus on the individual. And Inarius established himself as the veiled prophet, the deity the cathedral formed itself around. In this guise, he was known to interact with and give orders to the higher-ranking members of his sect. Yet, despite the virtuous veneer, the cathedral fell into its own pattern. It began prioritizing the battle against the Triune, physically or psychologically, over helping the suffering and dying around them. And so the stalemate formed. Both factions grew in influence and power. Both expanded their reach. Yet neither could land a permanent blow against the other's authority. And Sanctuary's people, caught between them, became the battleground. Unbeknownst to everyone, including Inarius, Lilith found a way out of her banishment in the void, and she returned to Sanctuary. When she learned what had been done to her children, how their power had been diminished generation after generation, she set her eyes on the World Stone again. She used it herself, unlocking the potential of her once formidable weapons. Her goal was simple: use the Nephilim to destroy both the primevals and Inarius, To do it, she did not begin with kings, warlords, or mages. She began with a farmer. His name was Odyssean old Diomed from Saram, an unremarkable man living an unremarkable life. He bore no love for the Cathedral of Light or the Triune, because most of his family had died to a plague, and neither group had offered help of any kind. Lilith approached him in disguise, under the guise of a beautiful human woman named Lilia. She fed him an elaborate hoax, stories of a made-up family stripped of nobility and wealth through the actions of the very religious sects Odyssean despised. She gave him something that felt like kinship. Then, shortly after, 2 missionaries who had visited Saram, one from each religious sect, were found dead, and Odyssean's knife was lodged between one of their rib cages. He was imprisoned, awaiting trial, and in the dark, he began to feel changes inside himself. Strange occurrences, seemingly of his own doing. During the trial, a storm appeared above the court as if from thin air, and a huge bolt of lightning struck, shattering order and certainty alike. In the chaos, Odyssean and Lilia escaped. As they fled, Lilia seemed to injure herself, and yet she was healed by Odyssean's touch. These events had been set in motion by Lilith to make Odyssean aware of his new strength, the result of her tampering with the World Stone. Odyssean found allies, his friends, Cerinthia, Achilleos, and Mindone, his younger brother. He found other Nephilim too, and he helped awaken their powers. Lilia convinced him and the growing group, later known as the Horadrim, to use their newfound power to destroy both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light, whose dogmas had caused more harm than good for Sanctuary. As they traveled, their powers grew, and as they helped more people, their ranks expanded. To deepen her deception and strengthen her control, Lilith became Odyssean's lover. The Horadrim encountered enemies sent by the Triune. One of them was Malik, the Triune's high priest of the spirit of love. Malik was given a second chance by their primus, Lucian, who by now was aware of Lilith's reemergence and of her interventions in favor of Odyssean. Malik engaged the group a second time, armed with a way to reveal Lilith's true form and nature. He failed to rout the Horadrim again, but he succeeded in disillusioning Odyssean. As more of her deception fell apart, Lilith laughed and admitted the truth. In clashing with the group, she weakened Odyssean's strength and willpower by telling him that everything he had accomplished was only possible because of her manipulation. Then she left, moving to the next steps of her scheme. Odyssean was discouraged and now seemingly powerless, but the mission had to continue. And in the fight against Lucian himself, Odyssean eventually gained his powers back, proving that the power was within the Nephilim after all, not merely conjured up by Lilith. With renewed power and conviction, Odyssean led the Horadrim onward. While Lucian was gone, Lilith placed herself as the Triune's primus in her brother's guise. When the group reached Torajah, Lilith set her plan in motion again. turning the trio not only against Odyssean's group, but against the whole town. The Horadrim had no choice but to counterattack immediately. They stormed the temple and cleared the sect completely. Lilith revealed herself to Odyssean again, then promptly left again, continuing her plan. After Torja, the Horadrim's ranks expanded further. At some point, Lilith possessed Cerinthia, seducing Odyssean into yet another fake relationship to continue manipulating him. Around this time, Mindeln was taken by Rathma, and to him and to the great dragon Trag Owl, the truth was revealed, the lineage of the Nephilim and the machinations of their creators, Inarius and Lilith. As Odyssean grew stronger, Rathma and Trag Owl decided the truth must reach him as well, and so they took Odyssean into Trag Owl's realm. Cerinthia, still possessed by Lilith, was taken by the Triune for a short time. When she returned, Odyssean was nowhere to be found, which meant she could not manipulate him as intended. But it also meant something else. With Mindeln gone for some time too, Cerinthia now stood as leader and could control the Horadrim army as she pleased. She manipulated the Horadrim into believing the Triune in Hashir was responsible for Odyssean's disappearance and eventual death. And so the Horadrim slaughtered all the temple's inhabitants. While Odyssean remained in Trag Owl's realm, she transformed the Horadrim following into something cultish, an army that followed her every word, preparing the stage for the complete eradication of both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light. Meanwhile, in Trag Owl's realm, Odyssean reunited with Mindeln and was made knowledgeable about his lineage and the true nature of the war he had been fighting. Rathma teleported them to the World Stone, hidden deep within Mount Arit. There, Odyssean realized the Horadrim's current power was made possible by Lilith's tampering. Ultimately, Rathma gave Odyssean a choice: what to do with their entire generation of Nephilim through the World Stone. Odyssean chose to accelerate their growing powers further, considering the threat of the Triune, and he made it so the World Stone could not be tampered with any further by any angel or demon. With the deed done, Odyssean was transported back to Sanctuary to finish what he had started. Sensing the change in the World Stone, Inarius went to Mount Arit, where Rathma joined him. Back in Sanctuary, Odyssean confronted Lilith, still in Cerinthia's body. She trapped him, beginning a ritual meant to place Odyssean fully under her control. But it was stopped by Achilleos, an Horadrim ally who had died previously and had now been reanimated through Rathma's necromancy. Her initial plan thwarted, Lilith fled. She chose instead to take command of the Triune again. Unable to control the Horadrim anymore, she resolved to bolster the Triune's might, destroy the Horadrim, and become the one uncontested power in Sanctuary. When she clashed with the Horadrim, she nearly succeeded. But Mindeln, now mastering necromancy, summoned the undead to fight at the Horadrim's side. To finish Lilith off, Odyssean collapsed the ceiling over her in the grand temple of the Triune. But she survived. and was visited by her firstborn Rathma, who came to confirm her death. Unbeknownst to both of them, Inarius was nearby and prevented Rathma from finding her, resolving not to allow their son to have to kill his own mother. After Rathma left, Inarius revealed himself. He used his power to banish Lilith once again to the void, declaring that this time he had made precautions to prevent her from escaping again. With the main threat of the Triune destroyed, Odyssean and the Horadrim, now growing rapidly in power, set out to expunge every remaining remnant of the sect. And with momentum still burning, only one enemy remained: Inarius and the Cathedral of Light. Inarius, bent on destroying the Horadrim as a display of his superiority and his command over Sanctuary, sent out his armies to rout them. Odyssean and the Horadrim defeated the Inquisitors Inarius sent, and then Inarius himself entered the fight. Despite being an archangel attuned to the World Stone, Inarius found Odyssean meeting him blow for blow. It only enraged him further. He no longer cared about the heavenly host closing in. The Anguirus Council resolved to destroy these new beings, these new abominations, labeling them blasphemous and uncontrollable. As the heavenly host arrived, the armies of the burning hells erupted from the ground. A three-way brawl loomed: angels, demons, and humanity. Odyssean reached for every ounce of his latent strength. He poured out all his power, attempting to push both angels and demons back from whence they came, and render Inarius immobile. Brimming with power, he looked around the destruction, and he noticed something that alarmed him: his diminishing humanity. In that instant, Odyssean made a choice: to remain human and nothing more. He drew back into himself all the energy he had been releasing, and in one blow, he unleashed it, completely driving back both heavenly and demonic armies, at the cost of his own life. The wave of energy affected the World Stone as well, resetting it to before Lilith tampered with it, reverting the Horadrim back into normal human beings. Odyssean's sacrifice etched itself into the souls of the archangels. It caused them to rethink annihilating humanity. The angels put humanity's fate to a vote. It resulted in a tie, and the tie was broken only by Tyrael, who voted to spare humanity, moved by Odyssean's sacrifice. It is believed this event informed Tyrael's growing compassion for humankind in the years to come. Both the Primevals and the Anguirus Council elected to create a law preventing both sides from ever interfering with humans. As penance for the loss of his children, Lucian and Lilith, Mephisto asked for Inarius as a prisoner. The angels agreed, punishing Inarius for his blasphemous actions. It is said this resulted in eternal, perpetual torture for Inarius in the depths of the burning hells. As part of the pact, humanity's memories of the Horadrim and the war were removed, with one exception: Mindeln, whose memories were protected by Tragao. Life went on. Odyssean's sacrifice faded the myth. The many deaths were blamed instead on a second plague. and the war was remembered as only a battle born from differences in belief. Thus ended the Sin War. With the fall of the two major political powers of the era, and with the Sin War remembered by most as nothing more than a violent clash of beliefs between fanatics, humankind began looking elsewhere for guidance and stability. They looked to the mages. Religions lost popularity. An age of magic began for humanity, a century after the Sin War began. To give the world structure, a magical council was formed, the Al-Rakish. It was made up of 3 mage clans: the Amuit, the Enid, and the Vizjere. They had all lost much in the previous war. They knew, though most of humanity did not, that what happened was partly heralded by demonic influence within the Triune's ranks. And so the council agreed. Summoning magic was dangerous. They forbade its use, its teaching, and its spread. And for a time, the new laws held. The Vizjere turned their focus back to their roots, back to the magic of spirits. And still they commanded influence. Despite their pivotal role in the creation of the Triune cult, they found fame and authority, growing strong in this new world of magic. But strength breeds pride. Across the millennia and a half that followed, the Vizjere began to drift again, back into darker acts. The Amuit and Enid clans did not miss it, and because they had forces within the Vizjere acting as a check and balance, the danger was not overlooked. And so they acted, not with speeches or councils, but with assassination. Key figures of the Vizjere were eliminated. The Vizjere retaliated in kind, striking down leaders of the Amuit and Enid. It went on until the tension finally ignited into open war, sparked by a heated disagreement during an Al-Rakish meeting. The Mage War clan had begun. Overpowered by the Amuit and the Enid, the Vizjere leaned fully into the forbidden arts to turn the tide. They went so far as to transform humans from the Mbaru clan into the Khazra, the goatmen known today. Still, it wasn't enough. And with no other choice left, the Vizjere used their trump card. They openly summoned denizens of the burning hells. 2 brothers were the most adept at this practice: Bartuk and Horadrim. Bartuk believed demons were superior to humankind. He used no means of control over what he summoned. He was known for depraved acts, bathing and feasting on the blood of his enemies. And he did not even flinch when demons, in their capriciousness, harmed his own allies. Horadrim valued control above all else. To him, demons were not partners, but slaves. He summoned them to serve, and he was known for his startling ability to break even demonic wills, guided by cold calculation. With demonic power at their backs, the Vizjere turned the war completely around, driving the Amuit and Enid to the brink of defeat. Victory seemed assured, but the Vizjere leaders decided Bartuk was no longer needed. He was causing too much internal destruction, alongside the destruction of their enemies. And so the war was split in 2. A civil war erupted inside the Vizjere. pitting Bartuk's philosophy against Horadrim's, demon against demon handler, chaos against control. The catastrophe that followed inflicted heavy collateral damage, and in the end, Horadrim won, killing his own brother in the process. Afterward, grieving and seeing what they had done, Horadrim spurned demonic magic and demonic summoning. He exiled himself to an arcane sanctuary of his own making, where he would spend the rest of his days studying magic alone. With the Vizjere left in shambles, there was no mage war left to fight. The conflict ended, and seeing the consequences firsthand, the Vizjere vowed again, alongside the other mage clans, to never participate in demonic summoning again. To enforce that vow, the Vizjaktar were created, an order of non-magical assassins committed to surveilling the use of forbidden magic among the clans. Even long afterward, the scars remained. To this day, the consequences of the destructive magical war can be felt in Sanctuary's environments and landscapes. Masterless demons roaming the lands, the depraved Khazra, and the deformed locations still visible. The war also left Sanctuary more vulnerable to infiltration by the denizens of the burning hells. But there was another consequence. Humankind began to hate the magical society. And with yet another pillar of influence removed, humanity was ready, eager even, to fill the vacuum with faith. And a new age of faith began. 2 centuries after the Mage War concluded, the earliest form of the Zakarum faith began to take root. The ascetic Akarat claimed to see a vision while in deep meditation. An angel, Yarius, who showed him the force of light as what humankind should aspire to ascend toward. Akarat spread the word, and that teaching would eventually become the religion of Zakarum. Later, the great scholar Deckard Cain would postulate that what Akarat saw was not an angel at all, but likely a vision of Odyssean's sacrifice at the height of his awakened Nephilim power, something other mystics have claimed to witness in deep meditation. The power released by Odyssean was so strong that it echoed through time and space, allowing the singularly attuned to glimpse visions of the act. Akarat, in his ignorance, mistook it for an angel and called it Yarius, meaning son of light in his native tongue. Regardless of the truth, Zakarum's formidable faith would be built upon Akarat's vision, and though they would fade into obscurity for a time, especially as Akarat seemingly disappeared, they would play an important role in the events to come. Nearly another millennium would pass, and the 4 lesser evils would stage a coup d'etat led by Belial. He argued to the demonic masses that the prime evils had become too interested in acquiring and controlling the souls of humankind. With that argument supported by the prime evil's recent failure in the Sin War, most of the burning hells sided with the lesser evils. And despite huge losses, inevitable when fighting the 3 strongest demons in hell, the lesser evils succeeded. They exiled Baal, Diablo, and Mephisto from their home and into Sanctuary, in a devastating demonic civil war. But in truth, this was planned. It was all planned by Mephisto and the Primevals. Because sometime before, a powerful angel, Tyrael's main lieutenant, fell from grace and confided in them the secrets of the World Stone and the Soul Stones Tyrael had created. And behind the back of the heavenly host, Tyrael broke the pact. He formed a clandestine group of powerful human mages called the Horadrim, chosen from varying mage clans. Decades would pass before he discovered the Primeval's presence among mankind. When he did, he trained the Horadrim and entrusted them with the Soul Stones, small but powerful artifacts carved from the World Stone, tied to the essence of each primeval and capable of trapping them. Led by Taurasha and aided by Tyrael, the Horadrim tracked Mephisto through his demonic deeds. After a gruesome struggle, they sealed him within the Sapphire Soulstone. Taurasha declared the best guardians of such a relic would be the Zakarum Church, with its stalwart faith. The church was entrusted with Mephisto's Soulstone, and they erected a temple in Kurast to house it, Travinikal. This led to a rapid rise in followers, their most prominent temple built around the eldest primeval. Next came Baal. The Horadrim confronted him as he left Lut Golain. In the ensuing battle, the Amber Soulstone meant to house him was destroyed. Taurasha did not waver. With the help of Zoltan Kuhl, arguably the strongest mage in history, Baal was sealed into the largest shard of the Amber Soulstone. But it was not enough. So Taurasha volunteered, unflinchingly, to house the fragment and Baal within his own physical body. Tyrael arrived. Together they entered a tomb. They erected a great runed binding stone, chained Taurasha to it, and Tyrael plunged the amber shard into Taurasha's chest. Taurasha bade his followers seal him inside the tomb, lost to time forever, as he wrestled the demon for all eternity. Grieving, the Horadrim endured. With Jared Kane as their new leader, there was one archdemon left to find. Tracking the youngest primeval through the trail of terror he left behind, the Horadrim confronted Diablo and his army in Conduras, the western region of Sanctuary. After nearly a decade of terror, the seemingly impossible battle ended in Horadric victory, though not without grievous sacrifice. They sealed Diablo in the red soulstone meant for him, and built a small Horadric monastery hidden in labyrinthian catacombs. With no further clear purpose, the Horadrim faded into a more scholarly existence. All but Zoltan Kuhl, whose ambition led him toward the creation of the Black Soulstone, meant to unlock humankind's full potential by trapping angels and demons within it, and specifically all the great evils. To create it, he resorted to inhuman experimentation. The Horadrim discovered this and ended it through his death. And in the end, it seemed that as Kuhl grew stronger, he felt emptier, perhaps losing his humanity just as Odyssean had noticed at the peak of his power during the Sin War. Years passed. The Zakarum Church rose in popularity, adopted by the most powerful governing bodies in Sanctuary. But unbeknownst to humanity, Mephisto's soulstone weakened. His dark influence began spreading through the Zakharum faith. He orchestrated conflicts and the destruction of the soulstone holding him. He attempted to possess the leader of the church, Kalim, but failed. Instead, he manipulated the High Council into killing Kalim, then possessed the next leader, Sankikar. With the church under his command, Mephisto began his plan to undo the seals of his two brothers and reunite with them for mankind's destruction. The plan began with Lazarus, a subtly corrupted priest, and Leoric, an uncorrupted Zakharum faithful. By the church's orders, Leoric was sent to govern Khanduras as its new king, with Lazarus as his advisor. At Lazarus's encouragement, their seat of power was placed in Tristram, a quaint town formed around the Horadrim monastery, where Diablo's soulstone was housed. Leoric and his family became respected as a beloved royal family, responsible for the prosperity of Tristram and the rest of Khanduras. Lazarus rose to become the nation's archbishop, the Zakharum Church's representative. But behind the scenes, Lazarus found Diablo's soulstone, and under Diablo's influence, aided the archdemon's attempt to possess King Leoric. Leoric resisted. His will was too strong. So Diablo changed tactics. He drove Leoric mad with paranoia. The once respected king began issuing unreasonable orders and committing despicable acts. One such order was sending the nation's army, his eldest son Aiden among them, to declare war against Westmarch. As the madness deepened, Leoric executed his own wife, Queen Asila, accusing her of conspiring against him. And while Leoric unraveled, Lazarus committed atrocities of his own, beginning with the kidnapping of the youngest prince, Albrecht, as Diablo sought to possess the boy. Driven further into insanity, Leoric launched a manhunt for his son, torturing and killing innocents in the search. Lazarus manipulated townspeople into charging into the cathedral depths as well, delivering them straight into the butcher's hands as fresh meat. As expected, the war against Westmarch became a disaster, with much of the army dead. Lochdanon, Leoric's lieutenant, retreated with whoever remained back to Tristram, only to find their homeland darkened by the king's hunt. Resolved to end the suffering, they confronted Leoric. They clashed, and as defeat neared, Leoric cursed his traitorous knights to obey him in death. His form transformed to that of the Skeleton King as he finally succumbed to Diablo's control. The knights became mindless minions bound to his will. All but Lochdanon, who willed himself to die alone in the catacombs rather than harm anyone under the king's corrupted command. Aiden survived the failed war and returned to Tristram. At the same time, Morena and Jazreth arrived, sent by the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye and the Vizjere, respectively, to investigate the rumors surrounding the once thriving town. Together, the three uncovered Diablo's machinations. They fought through horrors and slew enemies: the Butcher, Lazarus, and Aiden's own father, the Skeleton King. Searching for Albrecht, they descended into the cathedral and finally confronted Diablo himself, now fully possessing the boy. Working together, they achieved victory over the primeval, and Aiden was forced, yet again, to end the life of a family member, removing Diablo's red soulstone from Albrecht's lifeless body. Fearing the archdemon's influence from within the stone, and believing he had the will to contain it, Aiden plunged the gem into his own forehead. For a time, Tristram knew peace. There was celebration for days. But peace could not erase what the town had seen. The nightmares remained. Aiden sought out Adria, the town's local witch, after the events. She had helped the group throughout the ordeal, and she consoled him, granting him a brief measure of peace as he grieved his family and began his internal battle against Diablo. The heroes went their separate ways. Jazrith, traumatized, sought solace in the arcane sanctuary of myth, said to have been created by Horadrim. Morina returned to her order, her tough exterior hiding the darkness she carried from what she had endured. And eventually, Aiden traveled east. Slowly, he began to give in to the archdemon inside him. He left a trail of destruction and terror in his wake, and the world would come to know him by a new name, the Dark Wanderer. When Aiden left Tristram, he didn't leave quietly. As the Dark Wanderer moved onward, he uncontrollably summoned demons, hellfire, and other creatures of the dark. Waves of ruin that laid waste to what little remained of Tristram. And when he passed eastward, that same wake of horror rolled over the monastery gate as well, the place now called the Rogue Monastery, home to the Sisters of the Sightless Eye. To ensure no one followed, Diablo summoned Andariel, not merely to guard the trail, but to revel in the spoils. And there, in the Rogue Monastery when it all happened, was Marius, an unremarkable vagrant who survived by nothing more than chance. He escaped with his life, but life was no gift after that. From then on, he was haunted relentlessly by visions of the Dark Wanderer and the evil unleashed that day. Elsewhere, the trail of terror did not go unnoticed. A group of heroes found it and followed it. Their pursuit carried them through quests and battles until they reached a rogue encampment where they were told what had happened at Tristram and the Rogue Monastery. They saved the scholar Deckard Cain from Tristram's burning cathedral. Then they faced a nightmare wearing a familiar name, the Blood Raven, who had once been Morina, now corrupted by Andariel herself, commanding hordes of undead. The group ended her suffering, and then defeated Andariel, and continued east after the Dark Wanderer. During this time, Marius tried to survive the only way he could. He smoked large amounts of opium in a nearby hostel, forcing himself awake so the nightmares couldn't drag him under. But fate twisted cruelly. The Dark Wanderer entered that same pub and uncontrollably summoned another host of demons and dark creatures, destroying everything in sight. Frozen in fear, his nightmares reignited, and yet somehow Marius survived again. And when the Dark Wanderer left, something compelled Marius to follow. So the two journeyed east together. Along the road, the Dark Wanderer spoke only a few words here and there, about how he had once been a mighty warrior, and how now he was burdened with a secret dark purpose. Eventually, they reached Lutgalain. There, Marius saw a vision of Baal, Lord of Destruction, how Tyrael and the Horadrim had imprisoned him within the body of their leader, Tal-Rasha, and the Dark Wanderer, Diablo, explained to Marius why they had come. They had come for his brother. The next day, Marius and the Dark Wanderer entered the tomb of Tal-Rasha. Diablo's essence seemed to know exactly where to go, and at last they found Tal-Rasha, locked to the binding stone, twisted into a depraved form, still struggling against the seal. The Dark Wanderer reached for the amber soulstone shard in Tal-Rasha's chest, but Tyrael appeared in the nick of time to stop him. They struggled, and in that struggle, Baal did not wait to be freed by Diablo. He compelled Marius. Marius stepped forward and released the shard. And with that, Baal, fully in control of Tal-Rasha's body, immobilized Tyrael. Then Tyrael, in a vision, ordered Marius to run, take the soulstone shard to Kurast. He must enter the gates of hell and destroy the shard in the Hellforge. While the two demons fought Tyrael, Marius ran. The hero and Deckard Cain finally arrived in Lutgalain by caravan. Fearing Diablo truly was seeking his brother within Tal-Rasha's tomb, they hunted clues, where the tomb lay and how to reach it. In that search, they defeated Jazreth, the same hero who had fought Diablo alongside Aiden and Morina, now possessed by the spirit of Horizon within the Arcane Sanctuary. From Jazreth's journal, the hero finally found definitive clues to the tomb of Tal-Rasha. Inside, Doriel had been summoned by Diablo and Baal, set there to guard the tomb and keep secret what had occurred. So the hero defeated Doriel, and beyond him, they found Tyrael bound upon the same binding stone used to seal Baal. Freed, Tyrael told the hero the truth. Diablo and Baal were en route to Kurast to reunite with their eldest brother, Mephisto. And Tyrael himself was too weakened to continue for now. By the time Marius reached the deep recesses of Travinical, he saw what he was never meant to witness. The prime evils reunited with their eldest brother, Mephisto, Lord of Hatred. And the Dark Wanderer finally shed his human form, revealing the terrifying figure of Diablo. Mephisto opened a portal back to the burning hells and sent Diablo through to rally their troops. Marius, consumed by fear, abandoned Tyrael's command. He did not go to the Hellforge. He ran. The hero, with Deckard Cain, finally reached Kurast and found passage to Travinical. They discovered the corruption Mephisto had wrought within the Zakharum churches and fought down into the temple's deep recesses through corrupted priests and demonic guards, until at last they faced Mephisto himself and defeated him. And in the aftermath, the hero gained access to the portal Mephisto's brothers had used and to his sapphire soulstone. With the task ahead now unavoidable, the hero went through the portal. They arrived in the Pandemonium Fortress, where Tyrael warned them of Isual, the fallen angel. Leaving the fortress, plunging into the burning hells, the hero fought through countless enemies until they at last defeated Exile. And Exile, after his defeat, revealed the truth. It was he who had shared knowledge with the primevals regarding the World Stone, the Soul Stones, and how to corrupt them. Deckard Cain explained then that because each Soul Stone is tied to the essence of its primeval, destroying those stones in the Hellforge would prevent the primevals from manifesting in Sanctuary ever again. The hero pressed on to the Hellforge. There, they defeated Hephaestus, the powerful demon who managed the forge and guarded it. With Mephisto down, 2 Soul Stones remained, and so the hero entered the Lord of Terror's lair. In a battle that bordered on the impossible, the hero defeated Diablo and destroyed his Crimson Soul Stone. But there was no rest. Speaking with Tyrael, the hero learned that Baal had stayed behind in Sanctuary, raising a demonic army and marching toward Mount Arit, where the World Stone was kept. Back in Sanctuary, Marius' sanity collapsed, and he was confined within a sanitarium. There, he was visited by a cloaked man, one Marius believed to be Tyrael in human disguise. Marius apologized, desperate, broken, begging forgiveness for failing the Archangel's task. The cloaked man told him all would be forgiven once the Soulstone shard was returned. Marius handed it over without hesitation, saying the shard had done nothing but bring him pain and deform him. And then the cloaked man revealed the truth. He was not Tyrael. He was Baal. Baal thanked Marius for acting according to plan, accepted the shard, and rewarded him with death. And true enough, Baal continued his devastation, building his army and raising a path straight toward the peak of Mount Arit. Teleported to Harrogath by Tyrael, the hero fought to save the last bastion from Baal's siege. The hero rescued barbarians taken prisoner by Sharptooth, and in gratitude the barbarians offered their help. Seeking a path to the World Stone, the hero faced the trial of the Ancients, early generation Nephilim tasked with guarding the World Stone. The battle was arguably even more difficult than facing Diablo, but the hero emerged victorious. The Ancients revealed Baal was already inside with the World Stone, and Tyrael could not aid the hero. Baal was blocking Tyrael's spiritual presence. Within the World Stone Keep, the hero fought the Lord of Destruction's strongest minions. At last, Baal confronted the hero in the chamber where the World Stone stood. He unleashed wave upon wave of stronger foes, forcing the hero onward until finally, in another near impossible struggle, the hero defeated Baal's manifestation. With Baal's power no longer holding him back, Tyrael entered and revealed the grim truth. Though Baal had been defeated, he had already corrupted the World Stone. And so Tyrael made one final decision. He opened a portal to send the hero to safety. Then the Archangel of Justice hurled his empowered sword into the World Stone, destroying it before the corruption could end Sanctuary. And in doing so, spelling the end for his own physical form as well. Tyrael's physical form was gone, but his essence would persist. It drifted in pandemonium for 20 years, restoring his physical form, something no angel had ever done before, since angels are usually replaced by a new angel embodying the same aspect. Restored, Tyrael returned to the high heavens. There, he noticed Malthael had also vanished, and it was revealed that the Archangel of Wisdom had developed an interest in mankind. Tyrael sent Azrael to find him. In time, Tyrael sensed a growing darkness, set in motion by the only two great evils who remained: Belial, Lord of Lies, and Asmodan, Lord of Sin. With the World Stone destroyed, Sanctuary had become vulnerable to both the high heavens and the burning hells. They meant to exploit that vulnerability. Tyrael, poised to aid humankind, was reprimanded by Imperius, Archangel of Valor, for violating their laws. Tyrael's answer was sacrilege. He removed his own wings, and he declared that if their laws forbade what was just and right, and forbade protecting the innocent, then he would no longer be one of them. He chose mortality, and he fell from the heavens onto Sanctuary. 2 decades of slightly more peaceful time passed after Baal's defeat. Then, a falling star struck New Tristram, a small village that had risen near the ruins of Tristram, plunging down from the heavens above. New heroes came from different walks of life to investigate. It seemed Deckard Cain had been separated from Leah, his new ward, by the star's impact. The hero helped reunite them and fought to defeat Skeleton King Leoric, awakened by the falling star, so they could approach the crater. At the center of the impact, there was no rock. There was a man. He had no memory, only that he was not hostile, that he was meant to deliver a warning of grave news. He remembered one more thing: a great sword that shattered into 3 pieces when he fell. The hero set out to gather the pieces and make it whole again. As they searched, Leah revealed she could sense strength within herself, like the hero, yet she had no control over it, unable to use it to help. Which would have been useful, because the sword fragments were guarded by a demoness named Magda and her coven. Over the journey, Leah began to let go of her doubt in Deckard's stories. Tales that she had once dismissed as mere stories or senile ramblings. The search also raised another possibility. The hero was part of, or descended from, the ancient Nephilim, because one of the sword's fragment lay within a temple only Nephilim could enter and clear, and the hero was able to do so. After battling through Magda's minions, the hero recovered 2 pieces of the sword. But as they searched for the third, Magda infiltrated Deckard's home, captured everyone but the hero, and stole the 2 pieces, already having the third. There she revealed she served Belial, Lord of Lies, and attempted to blackmail Deckard by threatening Leah's life. Deckard refused. Magda lethally struck him, and Leah, in grief, unleashed her inner power, blowing away Magda's minions. So Magda instead kidnapped the owner of the shattered sword. With his dying breath, Deckard restored the sword and revealed its owner was an angel. He bade Leah to glean the truth from his journals and press on. Following Magda's trail to King Leoric's old manor, it was revealed Leah was the daughter of Adria, the witch of old Tristram. The hero foiled Magda's attempt to sacrifice villagers for Belial, then pursued her to the cursed hold, where Magda led the hero into a battle against a revived butcher. The hero defeated him, allowing Tristram's spirits to finally rest. Deeper in, the hero rescued the stranger from another dark ritual, and as the stranger took up the restored sword, his memories returned. He remembered himself, Tyrael, former Archangel of Justice, and he remembered the warning he had fallen to deliver. Belial and Asmodan, taking advantage of the Worldstone's destruction, were mounting an attack on Sanctuary. The trail led to Khaladoom. In Khaladoom, now the seat of power in Kyrgyzstan, after the destruction and defamation of the Mage clans following the horrors of the Mage Clan Wars, Tyrael and Leah sought information on Belial's machinations. Meanwhile, the hero pursued Magna to Alcarnus. After slaughtering cultists and freeing prisoners, the hero defeated Magda, though she revealed Belial had seized Leah and intended to claim her hidden power. Deckard Cain was avenged. The hero returned to Khaladoom to save Leah, held by Emperor Haakon II and his Imperial Guard, who were actually serpent demons commanded by Belial, able to change forms. Leah escaped with the group and urged them into the sewers. There they found Adria, apparently still alive, imprisoned and tortured for information about a black soulstone. Adria claimed she had left Leah behind because she'd been called to fight the great evils, and it would be dangerous for her daughter. Now safe, Adria revealed the Black Soulstone was the key to defeating the great evils permanently, and that to use it they must revive its creator, Zoltan Kuhl. The group sought Zoltan's head, stored in Khaladoom. Partially revived, Zoltan recognized Tyrael's voice. Tyrael told him their plight, and Zoltan agreed to activate the stone, but only after they made him whole again by retrieving his blood from the desolate sands. Along the way, Zoltan spoke to the hero, remarking that he knew what the hero truly was, though the others did not. In the temple holding Zoltun's blood vials, Haakon II aided them through projections, claiming he was close to identifying Belial's current human host. He told them to prioritize the Black Soulstone and leave Belial to him. As they neared Zoltun's blood, Leah left first to learn the resurrection spell. Alone, Zoltan tried to manipulate the hero, insisting they were the same, while the others only meant to use them. The hero resisted and completed the task, retrieving the blood vials. Next came Zoltan's body, and the Black Soulstone kept in Zoltan's archives. At the entrance, Leah rejoined the hero via a nearby waypoint. Another projection of Haakon II declared he had finally learned Belial's identity and would lead them to him after they secured the Black Soulstone. In the archives, the hero fought through guardians and serpent demons, recovered Zoltun's body, and returned to Leah, who revived him. True to his word, Zoltun guided them to the sanctum where the black soulstone lay. Not true to his word, he tried to claim it for himself, only to discover that the essences of 5 previously defeated great evils were already inside. He offered the hero one last chance to join him. The hero refused. They defeated Zoltun and 2 of his larger constructs and claimed the Black Soulstone. Adria entered the sanctum and revealed that Deckard had told her of the stone during Tristram's corruption, and that her task when she left Leah had been to mark the great evils, so their essences would be trapped in the Black Soulstone upon their next destruction. Outside, Adria explained if they destroy the Black Soulstone with the great evils inside, they will be permanently destroyed. And only Leah was strong enough to control the stone when they used it. With no other choice, they accepted Hakan II's aid and rushed to Khaldun. Belial stripped away his pretensions and rained hell on the city. The group fought through the chaos to reach the Emperor's palace, only to learn the truth, that Belial had been possessing Hakan II all along. But nonetheless, the hero defeated Belial and trapped his essence in the Black Soulstone. Now, only Azmodan remained. Leah buried herself in Khaldun's great library, and there she saw a vision. Azmodan intended to seize the Black Soulstone and become the one and only primeval. As the last authority in the burning hells, Azmodan launched an assault, erupting from the crater left by the Worldstone's destruction, from Mount Arit's depths. The heroes went to Bastion's Keep, the last fortress standing in the demon's path. There the hero rallied troops, fought hordes, lit signal fires, secured and fired catapults, and plunged into the keep's depths, where Azmodan had breached from within. Leading the charge was the Lord of Gluttony, who the hero killed after a struggle. But in the armory, Leah lost control. The rage of the great evils burst from the stone momentarily, slaughtering everyone in the room except Leah, Tyrael, and Adria. The hero resolved to end the siege. On the battlefield, alongside Tyrael, the hero destroyed demonic siege weapons and the great demon Siegebreaker. Within the heart of Arit, the hero slew Sidea, Maiden of Lust, and destroyed Azmodan's sin hearts to weaken him, until, after a long and arduous battle, the final great evil fell. Adria commanded Leah to trap Azmodan's essence in the Black Soulstone. The allies returned to the keep first to begin the rituals to destroy the stone and the great evils within it. The hero returned to the armory expecting relief. Instead, there were deformed bodies and blood. Following the trail to the rooftops, the truth was revealed. Adria had done it. She explained that 2 decades earlier, she had settled in Tristram, drawn by a great evil power. After meeting Aiden, already carrying Diablo, she pledged herself to the demon and his grand scheme. She conceived a child with the demon in the Dark Wanderer's skin, creating the perfect vessel for Diablo's eventual return. Now, Diablo claimed Leah's body as his own, stronger than ever, carrying the essence of all 7 great evils through the Black Soulstone within him, a single new primeval. He set his sights on the high heavens. He opened a dark portal and breached the palace of the heavenly host, clashing with Imperius. Imperius was no challenge. Diablo manifested in a darker, more terrifying form, closer to Tothomet, from whom the burning evils and their demons were born. He shattered the diamond gates, corrupted the high heavens, and sent his strongest demons to capture the archangels. The hero freed Auriel and Etheriel, received their blessing, and pushed onward to change fate. After closing the rifts that spawned Diablo's demons, the hero and Tyrael confronted Diablo as he began corrupting the Crystal Arch. The archangels were rendered incapacitated. Only the Nephilim hero could stand against Diablo, the prime evil. After a near impossible battle, through visions, illusions, and manifestations, the hero triumphed. Diablo left behind only the Black Soul Stone that had been within him. The high heavens were saved. Tyrael returned to the Anguirus Council, not as an angel, but as a mortal, choosing to embody wisdom, the aspect once held by the still missing Malthael. 2 months after what happened in the high heavens, Tyrael acted quickly. He reformed the Horadrim, gathering a new order from across Sanctuary, a variety of powerful mages and warriors, along with sub-members of the first ones of G. Cool. Their first objective was clear: find and safely retrieve the Black Soul Stone. The same stone that, after Diablo's demise, fell somewhere in the high heavens, its corruption slowly seeping into the surrounding vicinity. Once it was recovered, the Horadrim moved to seal it deep beneath Sanctuary, within the tomb of Rakkus. But they were met there by something that should not have been waiting in the dark: Malthael. Silent, sudden, revealed after being missing for such a long period of time, the former Archangel of Wisdom struck without hesitation, killing every member of the Horadrim present, save for one. A single survivor Tyrael managed to protect. Tyrael sent that lone Horadrim member with one urgent task: find the Nephilim hero. Warn them. That survivor was Lorath Nar, and in time, Lorath succeeded. He found the hero and brought them up to speed. But before the hero could move on Tyrael's crisis, they had to deal with another immediate threat: saving a city from new ghostly enemies. Only then did the hero tell Lorath to inform Tyrael to meet them at Westmarch. So the hero pressed onward, fighting through specters and undead spirits. And amid that chaos, they saw something they couldn't explain at first. A large figure, wielding a scythe, dressed in a garb that looked similar to what angels wear, commanding ghostly underlings to kill those with demon blood, and then massacring innocent humans. Perplexed, the hero kept moving forward. Eventually, they were joined by Tyrael and Lorath, and Tyrael revealed the truth of things. Malthael had taken upon the aspect of death, and he now grows stronger with every person his army kills. And worse, Malthael, after observing humankind, had come to a conclusion. Now that the prime evils are no more, the only beings with any lingering trace of demonic essence are humans. And if the eternal conflict is to be ended for good, humans must be purged. Tyrael resolved to uncover the full extent of Malthael's plans. The hero, meanwhile, would act immediately, destroy Malthael's soul crucibles, dark orbs used to transform humans into more of his reapers, who then kill more and more people, feeding Malthael's growing strength. The hero destroyed the soul crucibles, and with those dark engines broken, Tyrael revealed more. Malthael was gathering the souls of the dead in order to somehow change the Black Soulstone. Tyrael also surmised that Malthael spared him in the tomb of Rakis because Tyrael, having voluntarily become mortal, is not descended from demons, unlike all of mankind. Then, Exile appeared, harvesting souls from the city himself. The next task became unavoidable. As the hero pushed through the chaos, they uncovered an internal plot, a plan to overthrow the king amid the confusion. The conspirator was Lord Winton, a descendant of Rakis, founder of Westmarch. Whatever his reasons, the hero refused to allow such methods, especially with greater catastrophe unfolding, and foiled the plan, defeating Winton. Ironically, this only strengthened Malthael's stance that humans will choose evil over good. And it also revealed something darker. Exile, Malthael's lieutenant, who Tyrael had originally sent to look for Malthael, had begun to share Malthael's sentiment, shaped by what he saw in humankind while searching for his master. Soon after, the hero confronted Exile, and Exile, strangely, wielded a fiery demonic power, rather than the one tied to angelic essence. The clash ended in the hero's victory, and Westmarch was freed from the Reapers. Returning to Tyrael, the hero heard what they already suspected. The angels cannot help. Not only because the perpetrator was one of their own, but because they had never truly come to mankind's aid regardless. And while Westmarch bled, Tyrael confirmed yet another grim truth. Malthael's minions have been claiming souls all over Sanctuary. With no clear lead on Malthael's location, the hero was left with one ugly option: Adria, the traitorous witch. And Adria, it seemed, was preparing to retrieve the Black Soulstone herself. Lorath feared the hero might claim revenge before gaining information, so he joined the hero on the hunt. Deep within Corvus's temple in the Blood March, they found Adria using blood magic to discern the whereabouts of Malthael and the Worldstone, and the ritual produced a projected image of pandemonium. When confronted, Adria unleashed her demonic new form, and the hero gladly took revenge. During the fight, Adria claimed Diablo had sent her a new vision, one where the Nephilim hero themselves would end up freeing Diablo. And after revenge for Leah's fate was finally taken, the hero returned to Tyrael with this new information. After consulting with Tyrael, the hero learned the only way to Pandemonium was through a gate in the high heavens. But when they arrived, Malthael's minions already guarded it, led by Lamiel, one of Malthael's former Angels of Wisdom. Imperius was not at all happy about this attack. The hero made short work of the defenders, then followed Imperius through the gate to Pandemonium. After clearing a short path, Imperius told the hero to meet him at a nearby siege camp. There, with the wisdom of the eternal wars waged in Pandemonium, and the countless times the Pandemonium fortress had changed hands, Imperius showed the hero how to breach the fortress gates, the battering ram. Before the assault began, Tyrael joined the hero and revealed what he'd uncovered. Malthael, as the Archangel of Death, planned to change the Black Soul Stone so it could suck out any demonic essence lingering in any and all humans, which would inevitably result in their deaths. With Tyrael now at the hero's side, they moved to smash the gates and stop that plan from coming to fruition. Inside the fortress, Tyrael explained what made Malthael so terrifying. Malthael was presumably in a state between life and death, meaning physical attacks would not work. Tyrael's sword had passed through him. To stop Malthael, the Nephilim hero would need to channel death the way Malthael did. But time was running out. Malthael had already sent the Black Soul Stone back to Sanctuary to purge humankind by pulling out their essences. Eventually, the hero encountered the spirit of their master and teacher. That master told the hero what must be done. Release the master's soul, and then all souls of the dead would aid the hero in that final fight. Those souls were imprisoned, guarded by Saraziel, the last angel of wisdom still under Malthael's command. The hero defeated Saraziel, and the master and souls were freed. And they would come to the hero's aid as the final confrontation began. Imbued with the power of death, through the hero's master and the souls now fighting beside them, the hero became a threat even to the Archangel of Death. So Malthael tipped the balance. He teleported the Black Soul Stone back into his grasp and shattered it, absorbing every shard into himself. Now empowered with the power of Diablo the Primeval, he resumed the fight with an even greater ferocity. The battle was long and grueling, but the hero endured, and finally emerged victorious. Malthael exploded as the souls he had absorbed tore free from his body in rapid exodus. Yet, as Tyrael noted afterward, the victory carried a terrible implication: the release of Diablo. Even so, the Nephilim hero had done it again, saving Sanctuary and the high heavens, and Tyrael was left with a question that could not be dismissed. If the hero were ever tempted toward darkness, would they resist, or would they doom them all? Sanctuary had endured 50 long years after the fall of Malthael. 50 years of clawing life back from ash, of rebuilding villages on graves, of praying the sky would stay silent. And then the cultists came. Somewhere in the wild dark, hands slick with blood traced forbidden sigils into the earth, and a name was spoken with reverence and hunger. A doorway opened. Lilith, daughter of Mephisto, was called back into the world. Not as a distant whisper from hell, but as a living, breathing calamity, walking again upon Sanctuary's grounds. In a remote village, a lone traveler, the Wanderer, was seized by people already bent out of shape by Lilith's influence. They were drugged and forced to consume petals steeped in Lilith's blood, forging a strange, intimate connection between hunter and hunted. The Wanderer escaped, but the link remained. Lilith's shadow clung to their thoughts like frostbite, numbing, invasive, and impossible to ignore. In that aftermath, the Wanderer met Lorath, one of the last Horadrim, and heard the words that turned dread into certainty. Lilith's return was not rumor. It was a prophecy made flesh and blood. The angel Inarius believed he could fulfill the prophecy by killing Lilith, proving himself the savior of Sanctuary, and earning his way back into the high heavens. Aided by a young woman named Nerel, the Wanderer entered the sanctum of Rathma, first of the Nephilim and founder of the Necromancers. There, Rathma's spirit revealed a truth with the weight of a guillotine. He possessed a key to hell. Inarius demanded the key, but Rathma refused, and so Inarius killed him. And later, inevitably, Lilith came to claim what was left behind. The key was hers now. The trail led onward to Skosklin and to another Horadrim, Donan, a man who once defeated the demon Astaroth with the help of 2 druids. Lilith did not break doors down when she could simply turn the locks from the inside. She corrupted those druids, guided them back to Astaroth's prison, and freed him, buying safe passage through hell with an act of calculated disaster. Astaroth took Donan's son, Yorin, as a vessel. Yorin died when the demon was finally defeated. In the ruin that followed, Donan recovered the Soul Stone once used to contain Astaroth and began preparing to alter it into a cage fit for Lilith herself. Rejoining Lorath in the Dry Steppes, the Wanderer pursued Elias, Lorath's former apprentice, and the one responsible for summoning Lilith into Sanctuary. Elias could not be killed by ordinary means, returning again and again like a bad sentence. To pierce his protections, the Wanderer and Lorath retrieved the sightless eye, and at last saw the shape of Lilith's plan. She intended to summon the lesser evils, not to serve them, but to use them. She meant to empower humanity against the prime evils, and above all, she intended to consume the essence of her father while he was weakened, then use that stolen power to conquer hell. Lilith wasn't running from the eternal conflict. She was trying to end it on her own terms. Elias used a witch named Taisa as a vessel to summon Andariel, the Maiden of Anguish. The Wanderer defeated Andariel, but the message was clear. The gates were creaking open. To break Elias's immortality, the Horadrim followed the stench of forbidden bargains into Hawazar, where Elias had sought knowledge from the Tree of Whispers and failed to pay the tree's demanded price, his head. The truth was uglier than a simple secret. Elias had sealed his life essence into his own severed finger. So the Wanderer destroyed it, and Elias finally fell, and the tree at last claimed what it had been owed. From the tree, Lorath learned of a gateway beneath Khaldun, opened using Rathma's key. There, the Wanderer defeated Duriel, Lord of Pain, another horror dragged into the world like a blade pulled from a wound that never healed. Inarius pressed ahead into hell to confront Lilith. He found her, and Lilith killed him. In the same brutal stretch of fate, Donan was mortally wounded, and Lorath remained behind, leaving the Wanderer and Nerel to chase Lilith into the deep places where hatred has a cathedral and despair has a throne. All along the Wanderer's road, a presence had stalked the edges of perception, bloodied wolf, Mephisto's chosen guise. At the end, in Mephisto's cathedral of hatred, that wolf urged a simple priority: stop Lilith. But Neyrau saw a deeper threat and chose to use the Soul Stone not on Lilith, but to contain Mephisto himself. Then the Wanderer faced Lilith, and they defeated her. And as Lilith died, she left a warning like a curse. Without her, there could be no victory over the primevals. Lilith was dead, Ignarius was gone, and yet hatred still walked. Neyrau fled back into Sanctuary, carrying a burden no mortal should ever have to bear: the Soul Stone of Mephisto. She believed distance, secrecy, and resolve would be enough. She was wrong. Mephisto does not rage, he waits. Neyrau's path led south into the deep jungles of Nahantu, a region where Sanctuary still remembered the touch of the eternal conflict. The air itself felt diseased, heavy with ancient blood and half-forgotten gods. Here, hatred whispered. Mephisto's influence seeped into the jungle like poison into water, corrupting spirits, twisting beasts, and hollowing out people long before they ever realized they were lost. Neyrau's strength began to falter as the Soul Stone gnawed at her will, testing her resolve with every step. She was no longer being chased, she was being guided. In Nahantu, the Wanderer encountered a people unlike any before them, the Spirit-born. These warriors were not bound to the high heavens or the burning hells, but instead to the spirit realm, drawing strength from ancient animal spirits that embodied balance, survival, and memory. Their traditions traced back to Akarat, whose teachings had once inspired Zakarum, long before the faith was hollowed out by corruption. To the Spirit-born, Akarat was not a god of conquest or absolution, but one of harmony. And they knew something was wrong. The jungle was screaming, and it was making the spirits restless. Hatred had returned into the waking world. Through dreams, visions, and moments of unbearable clarity, Mephisto spoke to Neyrau. Not as a tyrant, but guise of a mentor. He did not demand freedom. He instead offered her understanding. He reminded her of Sanctuary's history, about how angels abandoned humanity, how demons used it, and how every so-called savior eventually chose annihilation over mercy. But Mephisto did not completely deny his nature. He was simply reframing it. Hatred, he claimed, was not destruction. It was truth. The refusal to forget the pain. The memory that ensures wounds are never reopened blindly. And slowly but surely, Neyrau began to listen. The trail of hatred inevitably led to Kurast, once the heart of Zakarum's fall, now a ruin, struggling to breathe. There, Mephisto's corruption bloomed openly. Cultists rose, old sanctuaries rotted, and faith twisted back into fanaticism. The Wanderer pursued Neyrau through these ruins, witnessing firsthand how Mephisto reshaped devotion, not through fear but through purpose. People followed him because they believed suffering deserved meaning. In Kurast, Mephisto was no longer hiding. He was openly preparing. Neyrel's strength finally failed, not through a single defining moment, but through a constant erosion. Each sacrifice, each choice made for the greater good, thinned the barrier between her will and Mephisto's. She wasn't possessed, she was yielding. And the Soul Stone continued to crack, not shatter, but opening just enough. Enough for the hatred to bleed into the world once again. The Wanderer finally confronted Neyrel at the edge of total collapse. Then through force, compassion, and sheer defiance of fate, prevented Mephisto's complete rebirth. But this was hardly victory. Mephisto was not destroyed. He was not even defeated. He was unleashed in part. His influence now seeded across Nahantu, embedded in spirits, lands, and hearts that would carry his will forward long after this conflict faded from memory. Hatred had found a new method. Not possession, but infection. When the dust settled, Sanctuary stood at yet another threshold. Lilith's vision was gone. Inarius's judgment lay in ruins, and the primevals no longer needed armies. They had learned patience. The Wanderer remained, as always, the fulcrum upon which fate balanced. But now, even they could feel it. The war was no longer coming to Sanctuary. It was growing from within it. And somewhere, in the deep jungles, beneath canopies that blocked out the sun, hatred endured, smiling, waiting, and remembering every wound the world had ever tried to forget.